Welcome to my iPad review. It's been 2.5 years since Apple redesigned their entry-level iPad, and while it was overall a pretty good redesign, nice flat sides, camera moves to the center, it did have some problems. Okay. One problem. The price! What's that? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, I'm being told it has two problems? The pencil! This iPad fixes one of those problems. The price. They've knocked about $80 off the price, and now it starts at $350, which makes this a really good starting point for anyone wanting to jump into digital art for the first time. Or if you just have a really old iPad and you're itching for an upgrade. They also solved the second problem. Blah, 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 blah. What's that? They haven't? The Apple Pencil is still the same? Well, at least the price is better. The Apple Pencil is sold separately. It does cost $100. What about that one? I see that one. It's only $80. Yeah, about that. There are now two Apple Pencils that work on this iPad, so it gets a little bit confusing. The original Apple Pencil is the one you want if you plan on doing any drawing on this iPad. It's great. It has good pressure sensitivity. It is super accurate. It's well weighted. It feels good in the hand. Even though it's almost 10 years old, the tech in the original Apple Pencil is one of those products that Apple just hit out of the park with their first try. It does require a special cable for charging, and this is an area where more expensive iPads have an advantage. The pencil on the iPad Pro or the iPad Air connects to the side of the iPad and just charges magnetically. It's really handy. The good news here is this original Apple Pencil does charge fairly quickly. I'd say if you leave it plugged in for 5 minutes, you're gonna get a half hour, 45 minutes of charge out of that. So if you leave it plugged in for a while when you're not using it, it's gonna charge right up and you can use it all day. What's missing for the $80 pencil? They keep the price down by taking features out of that pencil. One specifically, which is pressure sensitivity, I can't live without. With all of the other Apple Pencils, the harder you press, the wider your line gets, or the darker your pencil gets, or the more paint flows out of your brush. It really depends on the type of brush and the program that you're using and how it affects it. But that pressure sensitivity for art and illustration and sketching is so important. It's what makes the Apple Pencil feel so good. And as elegant as the USB-C pencil is, with its like moving cap and way you can plug it in and all that fun stuff, it lacks this most important feature. I guess if you don't need pressure sensitivity, if you're just taking notes on this, if you're just using the Apple Pencil to navigate, then that USB-C Apple Pencil probably is fine. But at that point, you're probably better off going and spending $20 for a cheap third-party stylus. Also, you want to know a secret? Get closer. 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 You can find the original Apple Pencil cheaper if you know where to look. Okay, fine. I'll make it easy and just link to the lower prices down below in the description. Are you learning how to draw? Are you finding online tutorials hard and above your level? Then you need this. It's a hand. What? What's that? We're out of hands? Again? What should I promote now? Oh, how about my Learn to Draw in 60 Days course? It's built to be the foundation for learning to draw. So you have some experience with these drawing principles and can tackle those more complicated tutorials with ease. 30-day money-back guarantee. Discount code in the description. A free hand. What's that? We're still out of those? Learn more over at bradsartschool.com. What is this? What is this gibberish? Just a letter and some numbers? What's it even doing here? Oh, this is the new processor. The A16 is a 2.5-year-old chip that originally rolled out for the iPhone. So it's still pretty good. It's not top of the line anymore, but it's more than enough to take any drawing app that I throw at it. It comes with 6 gigabytes of RAM, which doesn't really sound like a lot, especially if you're coming from like the laptop or the PC world, but in a mobile device, that's fine. In drawing apps, the amount of RAM you have often dictates how many layers you get. And with 6 gigabytes of RAM, you get a fair number of layers in Procreate. Now, if you're using an animation program, if you're doing video editing, if you're doing things that are more processor intensive, that's where you're gonna notice like that M3 in the Air really comes in handy. But if you're sketching and drawing and even doing finished art on a good sized canvas, this is good. This is fine. What's important to know about this iPad is that it never really slows down. You're not dropping frames while you're doing everyday activities. And that A16 processor, while not top of the line, is going to last you years before you really start to feel it lag. Now, you are missing some features here. For example, you can't plug this into an external monitor and use it that way. I don't know many people who do, but if that's something you want to do, probably want to go up to that higher end iPad. Apple's Stage Manager mode also doesn't work on this iPad. That's something that only works on the higher end iPads, although if I'm being honest, I don't really use that mode that much. Now this screen looks pretty decent. Its resolution is 2360 pixels by 1640 pixels, which is really crisp. You can't really see pixels here. One drawback though is that this screen is not laminated. Laminated. This is a term you don't hear much anymore because almost every screen around you is laminated these days. Your laptops, your phones, all the other tablets I've tested in the last 3 or 4 years. But on here, there is a gap between the glass and the screen below it. Most screens that you see nowadays, like the one on your phone, end up bonding that glass to the screen, so there is no gap. It also makes the screen look better. It makes the device look more modern. It just looks better. It's not a huge deal, but you're gonna notice it. And nobody knows for sure why Apple hasn't updated this display yet. Some speculate it's because this is a very popular iPad that they sell to schools. Schools tend to buy them in bulk, and if the glass cracks because kids are kids, it's a lot cheaper to just repair the glass than it is to have to replace the glass and the screen. You will notice that writing or drawing on this iPad is considerably louder than it is on some of the other iPads. There's a lot more clicking and there's a tapping sound every time your pencil hits the screen because of that air gap. Another problem with the last gen iPad was storage. Hey, I thought you said there were only 2 problems with this iPad. Blah, 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 blah. Fine, there's 3 problems with the old iPad that this fixes. The last iPad started with 64 gigabytes of storage, which is not a lot. This one bumps that storage up to 128. Not a ton, but boy, does that give you a lot more breathing room. Of course, like all Apple products, upgrading the storage costs a small fortune. You can upgrade the storage on this. You could jump up to 256 gigabytes, but that makes your iPad cost $100 more. And jumping up to 512 gigabytes of storage costs $650 for the iPad. Whew, that's almost double the price of the base unit. And I think when you start getting into that price range, you might as well start looking at the iPad Air because it's pretty impressive. Overall, I'm super impressed with this iPad. I think if you can afford it, jumping up to the iPad Air is probably the best fit for most artists. You're gonna get a lot of benefits in terms of the charging of the stylus, that Apple Pencil, the way it stores along the side, all that sort of thing is just super nice. There's also that squeezy barrel thing. There's the barrel roll on the pencil that this old pencil doesn't have. I mean, these aren't things you need, but boy, they are nice quality of life improvements. If you are on a super tight budget though, or if you're just getting into digital art or getting this for one of your kids who's getting into digital art, I think that's where the value of this iPad is. There are cheaper things out there in the Android ecosystem. I have a page on my site where I rank all of the tablets I've ever used, or at least ones that are still on sale, and I have the video reviews there. So if you want to do some research, you can just check out that page and see for yourself. I would not put this iPad at the top. However, I think it's good enough to stand out from the crowd. And I did it. I made it to the end of the video without being crushed by anything, really. If you want to know what I think about the latest iPad Air, I'll put it on the screen right here. All you gotta do is click it or tap it with your little finger. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys in a few days.